kitchen. Today we are making this green lentil lasagna you all have asked me so much about. As we all know, it's coronavirus time and we are all experimenting in the kitchen. A lot of us are starting to also freak out a little bit about the fact that we can't go to the gym, we can't work out, we feel like we're gaining weight where we don't want to gain weight. And so I'm trying to show you guys a good way to make a delicious recipe that we all love, but by reducing calories, increasing fiber, so we go to the bathroom and feel good about ourselves. So let's go with our ingredients. First of all, here we have some ground beef. Now, we do not need to only use ground beef. If you have ground turkey, ground chicken, ground pork, use that. I just happen to have that in my fridge, and during coronavirus time, we don't always have the chance to go to the market very often. So let's do with what we have here. So 1 pound of that. Then we have an eggplant because I love to be able to sneak in my vegetables whenever I can, and this will give really good texture in between our layers of lasagna. We have some fresh mozzarella, we have some chopped Italian tomatoes over here. Then we have some really nice fresh herbs, basil and oregano. Really important to put that in your sauce so it stays really fragrant and fresh most of all. You don't want it to taste just like it comes from a can. You want it to be homemade and delicious. We have a couple garlic cloves, salt and pepper, and some olive oil, and that's it. And we're ready to go. Okay, now for the main ingredient, the star of the show, we've got our lentil lasagna sheets. So these are awesome. They're by Explore Cuisine. I had never seen them on the market before. I think they're phenomenal. These are even better for all of us home cooks because they do not need to be pre-baked. We don't need to boil them in water, let them cool down or whatever. We're just gonna assemble layer by layer and it's gonna be great, good to go in the oven, and that's it. Super easy for everybody. First of all, we want to turn on our oven at about 400 degrees so that it preheats. And we're going to grab our eggplant and a cookie sheet that we will line with parchment paper. Very important because you don't want your eggplant to burn. Then we grab our eggplant and we're just going to start slicing it about 1 to 2 centimeters thick. So you don't want it to be thicker than this because you want it to cook pretty fast, honestly. And you want it to get nice and golden. And you don't want it to be too, gooey and raw. And some people sometimes feel like eggplant has a weird texture. So we're gonna make sure this doesn't happen. We're gonna make sure everybody loves the eggplant today. So here we go. We have our eggplant nicely sliced. And then we're gonna grab our slices and we're just gonna place them on the cookie sheet just like that. Very simple. And you'll see that you're not going to use all of the eggplant slices today for the recipe. You'll have some left over, which is completely fine because this is great to have the day after. So now we're going to grab a little bit of salt and we're going to sprinkle some salt on our eggplant, not too much because you don't want them to release too much water. And that's also why I want the oven to be at 400 degrees is because I want it to just cook really fast. I don't want it to slow cook and then get watery and mushy. We're gonna grab a little bit of pepper and just season it a little bit. You're probably looking at like a half teaspoon of salt and a half teaspoon of, not even a half teaspoon of pepper. Then I'm gonna grab a little bit of olive oil and I'm gonna grab a little spoon to drizzle it all over it. So here we go, just a little bit over here, just like that. And this will help it get a nice golden look. So here we go. And now that's it. It goes in the oven. Okay, so now while our eggplant is in the oven getting nice and golden, we're gonna get started on our tomato sauce. So first of all, I know that a lot of you often ask me about which pot to use depending on what. If you have a nice and sturdy cast iron pot, I highly recommend that, like enamel. I use Le Creuset, which is, French brand. There's a lot of other brands that are doing it. So use that and let's turn it on to get nice and hot before we saute our onions. So here we go. I like to do that first. And while the pot is getting nice and toasty, let's get our onions. So we're only gonna use half an onion today. We're doing 1 pound of ground beef, so half an onion is plenty. Here we go. Discard the other half. We're gonna get our skin off over here. I used the white onion because honestly could not find yellow onion at the market today. You know, again, coronavirus, and we can only find what we can find, but white onion is fine. It's sweeter, it cooks super fast, so we will be good. So you just give it a nice rough chop. It does not have to be perfect because you'll see that it's gonna cook with the beef, and it's sort of gonna dissolve a little bit of the sauce. So, all right, so this is looking good right now. Give it another little chop, very quick, just like that. Now, keep your little mount over here, and while we're at it, we're gonna do our garlic. So the way I like to do my garlic is very easy. You take your whole garlic clove, you place it right here on your cutting board, you put your blade down and you smash it. Don't be afraid, you won't chop your fingers. So here we go. Then you peel it out and it falls right out. There you go. Do the same with the other one. And now just get rid of the, I call it the butt of the garlic. It's sort of the root that attaches to the whole bulb of garlic. So now you just chop your garlic roughly, just like that, and keep it aside. So now let's grab our onions and let's start cooking them in olive oil in our hot pot. Here we go. We're gonna grab a couple tablespoons of olive oil and we're gonna just put it on here really quick. See, the pot is really nice and hot, so before it starts smoking, let's just dump our onions in here. There we go. This is perfect. So you really want the onions to sizzle in there and to cook really fast and get some color really fast. So this is gonna happen. It's gonna steam up really good. You get a good facial at the same time. Et voila. Now I like to grab a little bit of salt and I like to season my onions. I feel like otherwise it's harder to get a good seasoning on your sauce. So we do about a teaspoon of salt and a half teaspoon of pepper. Let's give that a good mix and let's keep it there for a little while until it gets some nice color. Next up is going to be tossing the beef. So here we go, we have our 1 pound of beef. So as you see, the onions got a really nice color. They're not burnt, they're just golden and sweaty. That's perfect, they release all their sugar like that. Make sure that all the sides of this ground beef are gonna get a nice color. And that's the trick that my Italian aunt taught me. Very strong culinary influence in the family, and making a lasagna is sort of, you know, not just a tradition, but it's really a love affair. We're gonna make sure all this gets a nice color, and then we're gonna toss in our garlic. So now that we've given a good stir to our beef, we're gonna grab our garlic, our 2 garlic cloves, and we're gonna add it in there. So let's do this. Put the garlic in there, and then give it another generous toss. And as you see, the beef is cooking so perfectly. The smell is incredible. And it's starting to get these little nice crispy bits. So I don't know if any of you have made Mexican food, but usually when you prepare your taco meat, you also want it to sort of have that nice and crunchy look. So we're doing the same for lasagna, and it helps us get all these little caramelized bits that are gonna season our sauce and make sure it doesn't have those acidities in it. Okay, so now the beef is about perfectly ready. So come check those bits out. It's exactly what I've been telling you that I wanted. You see, you have these nice little chunks of caramelized pieces of the beef. The onion are sweaty. You almost don't see them anymore. So now it's the perfect time to toss in your tomatoes. It's like about 1 can. And you just slowly pour this in. So in my pot, because the pot is really hot, but it's okay. Don't get alarmed. Don't freak out. Just toss this in. Maybe reduce your heat slightly, your heat, and give this a good generous stir. And that's it. At this point, now that we've put in our tomatoes, the only thing we have to do before letting it simmer for a while is grab a nice couple twigs of oregano, fresh if possible, and you just throw them nice in there for flavor. So kind of bury it a little bit, and it's gonna help distribute just some freshness to your sauce. So here we go, and then we grab our lid and we cover this baby up for about 20 minutes. Okay, so now while our sauce is simmering, we need to check on our eggplant. Let's see how they're doing. We probably will have to flip them to make sure that we get it nice and golden on both sides. So let's take a look and see how they're doing. Oh, well, look at that. They are looking really good. So see how they sort of have a bit of a dehydrated look on one side. So now when we flip them, that's exactly what we want. We just give them a nice flip and stick it back in the oven for honestly no more than 2 minutes. It's just so that the other side gets a little bit more of a crunch. And there we go. Now I'm going to teach you guys a little secret that my Italian grandmother taught all of us in the family. One is that if you use canned tomatoes that are not from, fresh summer tomatoes, you use a little bit of sugar for your sauce. No more than a teaspoon, and you'll see it will be a game changer. So we're going to add this sugar now into our sauce because I felt like it was still retaining a little bit of the acidity. So here we go. We're going to give this a nice little stir after we toss it in there. Wait another couple minutes and see how that turns out. It should quite do the trick. Okay, so we have only a couple more minutes before the sauce is actually ready. So I thought it would be a good idea now to start prepping our mozzarella. So we're gonna grab first the first big ball of mozzarella. So as you know, normally for a lasagna, a lot of people put ricotta cheese or they do a bechamel. For us today, we're trying to still cut down our calories during this more immobile time, but I've decided to keep my mozzarella. And now let's grab our sauce and let's start layering it all out. Okay, so now that we have all of our ingredients here and that the sauce is ready, I wanted to do the last little touch to make our sauce even more special. I like for that to chop some nice fresh leaves of basil. So we're gonna do the same like I've told you, I think I've showed you in a prior video with mint. So we grab our leaves, we just sort of flatten them out together on top of each other, and then we roll them out just like that. And then we take our knife and we just chop them pretty fine all the way down. And that's gonna give you some nice even slices. So there we go. And now we're gonna grab them and we're gonna toss them in our sauce. And that's it. And then here is our sauce that's ready to go. Just gonna give it a nice little stir so you feel that freshness. And we're ready to put it all together and send them back in the oven, and then it'll be time for dinner. Okay, so now let's put it all together. This is judgment time. So let's grab a little bit of olive oil and just sort of trace a line in the middle of our pan, just to make sure that nothing sticks while it cooks in the oven. Then you grab a nice ladle of our sauce and you put it down first. You put it all around, add a little bit more. You want it to be nice and moist. That way our lasagna sheets are gonna cook perfect. So now as you see those lasagna sheets, they're just very much like a regular lasagna sheet. They're just green, which is the only difference. You could almost mistaken it for a spinach lasagna sheet. So now the bottom you'll see you'll have to do a little bit of adjustment. I don't want to layer too much thickness of this lasagna sheet. So you measure out. You want to make sure that you have about the right distance and you crack it. There we go. So we have little pieces like so. We do the same right here, and then for here we do the same. So you sort of go here and you crack it the same way, and then you get some nice lengthwise pieces. And you want to make sure you cover pretty much the entire surface of your lasagna pan. Now we add again a little bit more of sauce, and you're gonna put it nicely on the top of the lasagna sheet, just to make sure that it's gonna all cook through. Now that we have a nice layer of our meat sauce, we're gonna grab our eggplant. And so we are going to sort of place them like that, and also try to cover as much of the pan with it as you can. So now we have our eggplant. So now take again a little bit of salt, because the eggplant sort of absorbs the seasoning. Now you grab your mozzarella pieces, and those, oh my God, I could just like just eat them like that. They're so good. And now you place them on top of your eggplant. Just like that. It's gonna be nice and cheesy in the center, which is gonna make all the difference when you eat it. So there we go. Now I'm gonna add again a teeny tiny bit of sauce just to make sure it keeps, you know, cooking the lasagna sheet. I think that that's kind of like your, you know, the trick with this. And now you put your other layer of lasagna sheet down, and you do the same trick. You sort of crack it just like that, and another one. Perfect. Now I like to sort of press it down to make sure it all gets, you know, the wetness of it all. There we go. And now we do that again. Nice layer of our sauce. We put again little pieces of eggplant, and you don't have to put as many right now because this is going now to be sort of the top of your lasagna. So here we go. Then we just use half pieces on top of the mozzarella, and we add another layer of our lasagna sheet. There we go. Press it down, crack that piece. Here we go. And that's it. And now we put the rest of our sauce all over, just like that. And now this is what's gonna make it look so good. So we're gonna have these nice pieces of mozzarella on top. They're gonna be so gooey after they cook. And it's gonna give us that nice crunchy, you know, look on top. And then what I wanna do again is just drizzle a tiny bit of olive oil on top of our mozzarella. And we're gonna add a little bit more salt, just to season the mozzarella because you don't want it to be bland. And a tiny bit more of pepper. Okay, so now our lasagna is nicely assembled. So we're going to put it in the oven for about 35 to 45 minutes, depending on how your oven works. And the temperature I've set it at is 350. So you want to bake it almost like a regular cake. So let's do this. Okay, so finally the lasagna is done. It's been baking for about 35 to 40 minutes, and I smell it all over the house. Like, there's nothing that gets me more excited than to know that this delicious meal is about to happen. So let's take a look. Let's see. Here we go. Here is our beautiful lasagna. Yes. So now let's dig in and let's put it on a plate. So let's take a nice sharp knife. I prefer to not use a serrated knife. I think that just a regular nice chef knife is very, very useful. So let's take a nice thick cut into this. Let's make sure we get all of our size. They say, you know what they say, the first piece is always the hardest one to get out. Oh my God, look at this. If that's not a delicious dinner, I don't know what that is. Who would think that these are not your traditional lasagna? Like, who would think that this is actually lentils? How awesome and guilt-free and just simply delicious. I think that if any of you want to impress a date, I think that's what you gotta make. I am so excited. This is so steamy and gooey and delicious. So let's take a bite. Nice and hot. 1, 2, 3. This recipe, I swear, is just the best. Like, you could do this right now in your home to make yourself feel a lot cozier, a lot happier. It brings so much joy to know that this is guilt-free and it's just you cannot go wrong. You could impress somebody that you love down the road when all this stuff opens up again. So much you can do with this recipe. It just will not get old, I promise. It will be the game changer in your family of a nice healthy recipe you want to bring over and over again, and that I bet everybody will request from you. So now that you've followed our delicious recipe, keep checking on us, keep checking on my Instagram. There will be more photos to come. I hope you enjoy everything. Please leave comments, any suggestions. I'm open to talking to you all. So have a lovely, lovely day. Bon appetit and see you soon.